Okay, so more on the effects of colors and symbols, right? So there's a book you'd really, really like since you're interested in psychology called Drunk Tank Pink, and then there's another one that's similar to it, and I can remember the name of it. It's another neurology book, and it's really fucking good. Um, I'm gonna figure it out. I have to think about it. I've just read too many goddamn books, but Drunk Tank Pink's really good. All right, so Drunk Tank Pink is a color that they figured out that has a physical effect on men specifically, right? So it's kind of like the color of a pussy, like that light pink color, and men stare at that color, and it affects their endocrine system to such a degree that it makes them physically weaker. And whenever these studies emerged, NFL teams began painting the away team's locker rooms that color because it would significantly affect their performance, and it would make it to where they were weaker and they would more likely lose a game. They call it drunk tank pink because they started painting drunk tanks that color because the drunks would be unruly and they stick them in there and it'd literally calm them down, like it would just take away their fight. During the studies of the color and its effects, they had bodybuilders who could lift like 200 fucking 50 pounds on curls and hit it like 20 times. And they'd have the dudes fucking hit that shit, knock it out, knock 20 reps out like it's nothing. And then they would have them rest and then come back. When if you can hit 250 for 20, you can do it, for 5-10 sets easily, no problem. So they would have them stare at a placard of that color for a few minutes and then go and try to pick it up, and they could hardly lift it at all after looking at the fucking color, because colors have such a profound effect. And the other book that I'm trying to remember the name of right now, it's either Drunk Tank Pink or that book. They both have a lot to do with the effects of colors, symbols, things of that nature. So they did a study, and I think they refer to the bagel study or the donut study. It was either donuts or bagels. And so they would first what they would do is they would take in the lobby of a building, like a business, some sort of corporate office they had. They'd put in the lobby a table with donuts or bagels, whatever the fuck, and it would say like it's an honor system. They had a box there to put money in, and they'd be like, leave $1 a piece, and the people would come and take the fucking bagels, and many people wouldn't even pay for them. They would just steal them, just eat them, fuck them. There's nobody watching, right? So they started off with like a sign there, like a little money sign on the box, right? And then they see what the percentage of people that took the bagels would be pretty high with the money sign there. For some reason, the symbol of money actually makes people act more greedy, and there's many more studies that show that to be replicable in other situations. So then they would they put a backdrop of like a woman, like a field and shit, and that immediately reduced the seeing the woman in the field for some reason, the tranquility of nature and this beautiful woman in it, made people I guess feel more connected, and seeing something beautiful changed their behavior. So it slightly reduced the number of thefts for the entire time that they ran the trial with that picture. And then they took that backdrop away, and I think they changed the locations every time, maybe, or maybe they did the same one. I don't remember exactly. You'd have to check it out. You have to read the book. So in the next version of it, they put a little symbol on the box or behind the box, kind of in plain sight, just a little symbol with an eye on it, right? And when people went up to get the bagels and seen the symbol of the eye, it made them have the subconscious feeling that they're being observed or watched. And so it changed the behavior. And then 100% of people paid for it with the symbol of the eye there, right? So just placing a symbol like that in an area increase the honesty of individuals. It makes them feel like some overlord is watching them. So through various methods, governments and corporations control people's behaviors, right? So then there's another interesting, thing to consider with just not just psychology but everything. All right, so last night I think I was mentioning to you the various effects of inflammation, these sort of things that accumulate from poor diet. Well, every individual is the offspring of a particular phenotype, right? For example, you're a Native American, right? So the Native American diet is evolved to be a kind of hunter-gatherer diet, right? Fed on uh, good, clean animal meats and fats, and good vegetables and corns, and these uh, unprocessed, like low fat, not you know refined, like butters and milk and the European shit that we have here a lot. People from other lands eat a lot differently as a result of the bacteria and the viral organisms and the parasites in their environment. They prepare their foods in certain ways, like in all of the equatorial regions or regions where it's hot, they use a lot more spices in their food because it preserves it for a longer period of time against the bacteria and protects against the parasites that may be in the food and the meats. Right, so naturally, humans from these areas will have very spicy, very seasoned foods. And once you get into the colder climates, that's not necessary. There's no benefit for having spicy food. And so individuals from like Scandinavia, Norway, Europe, places like that, where it's cooler, not the Mediterranean, because that's close to the equator. The Mediterranean food begins to get spicier. The lower you get, the closer you get to the Mediterranean, Eurasia, right, in equatorial regions. But so the white food to people from a hotter climate may seem to be very bland, but it's the diet that they're adapted for, right? So white people are adapted to a pastoral lifestyle of farming, right? They have complex fats and crops and fucking animals and shit, the butters, milks, things like that. That's why we don't have lactose intolerance. It's like over 90% of white people can digest milk because we've had cattle for so long, right? But then there's obviously different phenotypes. There's no such thing as white people. There's just, there's the Dinaric, the Mediterranean, the Alpine, the Nordic, and let's see, I can't remember the other one. I can't think of it. But so the Dinaric would be like the Irish and the Scottish, and they're like subsistence farmers, and so their diet is specific to a lot of starches. Right, high carb diets, right? Like the sub-Saharans, they're also more attuned to a high carb rather than a like high sugar or high oh, what is the other one? I don't know. My mind's not functioning very good right now. I'm drinking a bit of beer, but so individuals each have a particular gut system and gut bacterial system, and gut linked and enzymes that are made to digest a particular kind of food. We also have particular behavioral patterns and rituals around food and around social cohesion and around tribalism and kin-selected altruism or reciprocal altruism and social cohesion. Like I said, it's forming bonds and things like that. So you get to America, it's a melting pot with thousands of different kinds of food. So you have all these different food options that are from different lands that your body isn't used to, that your body's not evolved to handle. And it creates a situation in which it's difficult for your body to know how to properly digest and function under these situations and circumstances. That's probably why you've naturally kind of migrated towards the diet which would be normal for natives, which is what you call more vegan-like, more clean, pure meats. You do eat meat. I mean, you're not like a vegan, but you do eat a lot of the vegetables, like and herbs and shit like that, like a native would. Fish, like a native would. So what you're doing naturally, kind of instinctually, is replicating a more natural native diet, because that's what your body wants and needs to function properly, right? So you go around and you eat all these foods from different cultures, and it creates an imbalance in our system, which creates inflammation and increases cortisol and all these other things. But further exacerbating the issue is the fact that they got a lot of negative chemical additives in our foods. They're highly processed, highly refined sugars and starches and fats and all these terrible things to exacerbate that issue. Then, another consideration for the issue is that we're also hybridized. Nobody's pure anything anymore, all right? No pure natives, no pure whites, no pure blacks, none of that shit exists. We've all been fucking each other for hundreds of years now. With each generation, hybridization increases. What happens is that the instinctual patterns of behavior and the underlying genetic mechanisms for food processing and like blood type. Blood type is a specific adaptation to viruses and bacteria and parasites in the environment. Like the O blood type is specifically evolved to deal with malaria, right? It's most resistant to malaria, while like The AB blood types all have their own particular functions to deal with pathogen, like European pathogen, things of that nature, right? So what you have is you have all these forms. Like you might have a black person who no longer has the malaria resistant blood type, but they might have sickle cell anemia, which is also designed to protect against malaria. You know what I mean? So you have like an imbalance in this system, and not only will you have chemical marker and enzymatic imbalances as a result of hybridization, you'll have this internal psychological struggle where methods of social cohesion are conflicting, right? So the tribalistic nature of the Africans, for example, is going to be different than the Europeans' large-scale social cohesion because that evolved of thousands and thousands of years. Europeans and various kinds, the Greeks, the Phoenicians, the Minoans, the Mycenaeans, the fucking Nordics, and the French, the Gauls, the fucking Saxons, Angles, all these people, they've had advanced civilizations. We even had advanced civilizations since we invaded India in the Middle East, fucking 10,000 years ago, 10,000 BC to 12,000 years ago. You know what I mean? Perhaps even further than that. It's just that the Younger Dryas period kind of erased whatever historical evidence would have existed before that. So, absence of evidence is initially evidence of absence. But it's to say, like, we for sure our behavior and our evolution indicates long term, larger scale, Dunbar number kind of, social cohesion and tactics for reciprocal altruism, right? So our methods of instinctual relationship building is going to be different from an African, for example. Also, our methods for dealing with the environment, for noise levels in the environment, for silence or loudness. For like an African, being silent means that if you're out gathering or hunting and you're quiet, animals might pick you off. You have a group of women that's gathering out in, herbs in the grassland, and there's these little predators sneaking around in there. And if you're silent, you're gonna jump out and they're gonna get you, and no one's gonna know that they got you. It's gonna be too late. So African descendants tend to make noise naturally all the time. They let each other know where they are. They yell across rooms. They yip and yap and fucking. They're always loud, and that's a method of staying safe, keeping the environment noisy enough to scare off predators. And whenever there is a conflict, they get quiet immediately. So when you're around a bunch of blacks, and everything gets quiet, you know that they're gonna have a conflict. Something's happening. It means there's danger, and they're trying to hear the source to pinpoint the location of it so they can deal with it. Right. White people are the opposite. We've had cattle for so long that if you're loud, you'll scare off the sheep and you'll spend all day chasing them down. You'll be an unsuccessful farmer. So white people are very quiet until there's conflict, and then they get loud to draw attention to the location of the conflict. Right. So we have different methods of dealing with our environment. And that's just one example. There's many. But whenever you have hybridization, you have conflicting methods of dealing with the world, and this may cause all manner of anxiety and depression, feeling of loss. Or further, humans are supposed to grow their tribe. No one's supposed to be solo. No one's supposed to go out in the world and try to prove that they got it figured out or they got an adventure on their own or that they're successful solo. Doesn't exist. Humans are supposed to keep their tribe, their family, their parents, their cousins, their aunts, their uncles. Everyone's supposed to stay around and live in one area. And they're supposed to have marriage, which joins another family to theirs and grows the scope of their tribe. And all the cousins and aunts and uncles and everyone's family, the marriages are all supposed to join to that. Your tribe is supposed to grow. You're supposed to have a sense of belonging, purpose, and meaning within your tribe and a known purpose and function within it, right? And we don't have that anymore. That also is another source of stress, anxiety, and mental health crises. Then, so fluctuations in lighting conditions imbalance the circadian rhythm, and that creates cortisol errors and failure to properly sleep, and that creates more psychological conditions. Then you have electromagnetic frequencies from all the devices, the phones, the lamps, the televisions, the energy generator, the power lines. All these things create frequencies of electromagnetism that affects the alpha, beta, gamma brainwaves, the different levels of your brainwaves, and they affect the functioning of enzymatic production and neurochemical production. And what happens is the chemical imbalances accumulate and cause once again, increase cortisol production, decrease dopamine, decrease endorphins, and it affects your body, and affects your mind, and it affects your ability to sleep, to cope with stress, and so it causes mental health crises. Right? Then vibrations also. Vibrations are another kind of frequency that move the matter in another way aside from the electromagnetism. Electromagnetism affects matter profoundly, but vibrations also do as well. And the frequency and tones of the vibrations will have another psychological, cellular effect. They can disrupt the cells' ability to fight infections and pathogens. They can disrupt their enzymatic production. They can disrupt their protein synthesis. They can disrupt neurochemical production or neurochemical functioning. They can cause increased cortisol production, right? So on every single layer possible, the way that we are living our lives is fundamentally flawed and not, proper to what we are evolved to do. We've created layer after layer after layer of a system that fucks your brain up, that fucks your ability to think up, that fucks your ability to live and to be happy. All right, so everyone's depressed and feeling like something's wrong. Nobody knows what's wrong, and that's what's wrong. All of that, and then people go to a shrink, they go to a doctor, they say, I'm thinking, I'm sad, and and the doctor says, well, there's a neurochemical imbalance, and the neurochemical imbalance isn't what causes your depression. Your depression and the conditions I've described is what causes the neurochemical imbalance in the first place. So the neurochemical imbalance is a symptom, not a cause, and it's treated as a cause. So they treat the imbalance, and all it does is numb the issue and cause further issues and further imbalances, which requires further treatment, which costs more money, which increases the profits of the industry and ensures that you're a lifelong patient. And it also ensures that your mental health declines further. So what people do in this case is they turn to other coping mechanisms like alcohol and drugs. And sometimes whenever their pain is great and their confusion is great, the drugs they pursue are harder drugs, worse drugs, and they have this spiraling depression that eventually leads to suicide or homicide, crime, all manner of social ills. So really the cancerous negative symptoms of society is kind of a result of these psychological imbalances caused by the various levels of systemic imbalance that we've created as a result of our ignorance. Well, not our ignorance, because these things are known by everybody that is learned. It's just that everybody who's a politician is a brain-dead, simple-minded dick sucker. Everybody within corporations and CEOs, these people are not chosen for their intellect. Well, in a way they are, but they're not chosen for their knowledge and the fundamentals of reality and how things work and how things interact. You know what I mean? And then you also consider that all minds are in some way connected because they are they are fucking quantum in nature, and so the imbalances in the body of society affects one another and causes this growing system, where there's feedback loops of this kind of traumatic existence. Hold on. You just started calling me while I'm making this video for you. So I'm going to stop making the video and call you and tell you that I made a video.